With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Let's Talk About Sex.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Let's Talk About Sex, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. And I am your host, Estela Rodriguez-Jebril, licensed clinical therapist and the Muslim sex coach. We are live here on Sky Channel 752 and across Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And I want to invite you to join in on tonight's discussion and get the advice that you want by simply calling through to the studio on 01924 231 083. And standard network rates do apply, so make sure that you have the bill payer's permission before you do call in. You can also ask questions and share your thoughts in confidence by using WhatsApp and messaging us at 07950-797-017. Today, we're talking about infidelity and how to heal your marriage after an affair. Infidelity causes intense emotional pain, and an affair doesn't have to mean the end of your marriage. Yes, you can rebuild your marriage after an affair. There's no marital problem that causes the heartache and devastation that infidelity does. Infidelity undermines the foundation of marriage itself. And when both spouses are committed to authentic, deep healing, marriages can survive infidelity. And many marriages become stronger with even deeper levels of intimacy after healing from infidelity. Now, infidelity isn't a single, clearly defined situation. And what's considered infidelity varies among couples and even between partners in a relationship. For example, is an emotional connection without physical intimacy considered infidelity? What about online relationships, sending flirty messages, flirty texts, flirty pictures? Individuals and couples need to define for themselves what constitutes infidelity in the context of their marriage. A recent study found conflicting answers when 1,000 people were polled about what constitutes cheating. The majority of respondents, 71% to 76%, said that physical sexual contact with someone outside of the marriage would always meet the threshold of cheating. However, a slimmer majority, 63%, thought that maintaining an online dating profile is cheating. And 51% said sending flirtatious messages to someone else should always be considered cheating. The lines on whether following an ex on social media constitutes a betrayal were very ambiguous. 16% said it was always cheating. 45% thought it was sometimes cheating. And 39% answered that it never was. So, as this study illustrates, how one defines infidelity is subjective. So, if the couple doesn't agree on what infidelity is, you can't go any further than that. the couple has to define what infidelity is, because correctly identifying the problem is going to guide to the best intervention and the best protection that will help begin the healing process once infidelity has taken place. So you want to be able to identify in your marriage what infidelity means to each one of you. So why do affairs happen? There are so many factors that contribute to infidelity. And most aren't fundamentally even about sex. Some of the most common reasons that lead to infidelity are, first of all, lack of affection. You go into a marriage because you want to build a connection with another person. You go into a marriage and you want to feel the affection. You want to give the affection. And when there's a lack of affection, then there's a gap. A divide begins. Also, losing fondness and care for each other. When there's loss of fondness and loss of care for each other, what is left? And what causes that? There are a variety of things that can cause that loss of fondness. You start out in love and you're hurtful to each other. You don't communicate well. Pay attention to your communication in your marriage, because breaking down communication, breakdowns in communication that is related to emotional and relationship needs is always going to create this divide. And we all need affection. All human beings need affection. You will search for it outside of your marriage if you're not getting it, if you're not communicating about your emotional needs, if you're not communicating about the relationship needs, the marriage begins to break down and you're going to look elsewhere. Human beings are imperfect and we need affection. So when you're not getting it in your marriage, you're going to look outside of your marriage. We have some questions coming in on WhatsApp. I think my husband is cheating. What do I do? How do I confront him? It's not about confronting him. If you feel like your husband is cheating or you feel like your wife is cheating, it's not about confronting them. It's about starting to pay attention, like, where is that divide? Where is that gap? Why aren't we communicating? What are the needs that aren't being met? It's not about confronting them and catching them in the wrong. It's about going deeper and understanding what's at the core of the problem. We have another question. A brother is saying, I saw my wife flirt with another man. Is this cheating? What is the definition of flirting? Was she smiling? Was she just being nice? Was she just being cordial? You want to define what this is within your marriage. This is why communication is so important. And you don't want your communication within your marriage to break down. There are also a variety of other things that can happen. Health issues can come into play and create a division. Chronic pain, disabilities. And if you haven't established healthy communication within your marriage, when something devastating happens, how do you work through it without communication? You can't. Communication is key. Understanding what those, levels of inappropriateness is to you and talking about it so that when you are in a situation that you're tempted, that you're tested, you have the recollection of what is important in your marriage. How do you make sure that you're fostering a healing relationship? There are so many other factors that you need to think about. addiction to sex, addiction to gambling, addiction to drugs and alcohol. You have to also address those marital problems that have been building for years, just festering like an open wound that never heals. If you don't address those marital problems that are connected maybe to your in-laws or to money or to career or to children, the barriers just widen, the gap just widens. And human nature is to seek out affection, seek out love, seek out acknowledgement. So you want to be able to know why this happens in a marriage. Why does this happen? What is it that you can do to be proactive? There are many things that you can do to be proactive. And it takes work. If you are in a situation where you're not clear on the boundaries, you're not clear on what is important to your partner, what are their needs, if you're not willing to communicate your needs, you're going to create this divide. You're going to create a divide that's going to break down your relationship. Your emotional needs are not going to be met, and those emotional needs of your partner are not going to be met. So these are the common reasons that can lead to infidelity. And there are many more. But what is important for you to be able to do is take accountability of yourself. Take accountability of yourself, and then how do you hold your partner accountable to be in a relationship where you communicate openly? We're going to be taking a quick break, and then we're going to continue to discuss infidelity and how you can rebuild your trust in your marriage, how you can rebuild your marriage. Send us your questions to the studio, connect to us through WhatsApp, and we will be right back after this break.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Let's Talk About Sex. With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Let's Talk About Sex.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About Sex. Today we're talking about infidelity, and we're now going to talk about how to rebuild the trust after infidelity. How can you begin to mend a broken marriage that has experienced infidelity? Recovering from an affair is one of the most challenging things to go through. This challenge will come with a lot of ambivalence and a lot of uncertainty. And yes, if you're in this situation and if you're willing to do the work, you can rebuild the trust in your marriage. You can learn how to forgive, and you can learn to reconcile, and you can recover from the guilt, because there's always guilt on both sides. There's always guilt on the side of the partner who strayed, and then there's guilt on the partner who doesn't know what they did wrong that caused this to happen. So you want to be really careful as you recover, because both partners can experience this guilt, and if this guilt isn't worked through, it can turn into shame. And as you heal with the support of a professional, because you will need a professional, you begin to deepen and strengthen the love and the affection that you desired. It's very crucial for people in the beginning of getting help on this new path in their relationship towards healing, that a new commitment becomes a contract between the couple. and with continued discussions about their relationship expectations. As you heal through infidelity, you really experience this higher level of connection, higher level of commitment. So you want to be able to discuss the relationship expectations on a continuous basis, on a regular basis within the marriage as you heal. And you will heal if you take this path and your marriage can flourish. There's a psychologist in California, Talal Al-Salim, who developed a system for couples that have experienced infidelity. This system is very powerful and it's very helpful. It's the systematic affair recovery therapy known as SART. And this method provides clear milestones that are needed to heal from infidelity. And the first milestone that you have to achieve is setting the stage for healing, setting the stage for truly doing the work, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing yourself to get to the core of what caused that break, getting to the story. The second milestone is getting to the story. You have to open up and you have to not blame and not complain, because this divide was created and caused pain and caused damage. So you want to get to the story to learn the wisdom behind that experience, to gain the lessons. And then you want to step into acknowledging the impact that this infidelity had on both partners, because there was an impact on both sides and there's healing that needs to take place on both sides. Now, yes, you never know what path you're going to go, but you're going to choose a path, whether you stay together or you go apart. But when you do the work, you develop yourself, your own emotional strength at such a deeper level that you recognize that you can create an action plan that is going to allow you to forgive, that is going to allow you to release the guilt, that's going to allow you to trust once again. And then as you create the action plan, you begin to implement different strategies, different ways of connecting, different ways of making commitments and time for each other so that you can heal through the pain. The most important aspect of these milestones is getting to a place of sustainability, to be able to sustain the growth, to continue that development so that you can sustain the healing process, because there are always going to be triggers that take you back to that experience. And with the sustainability, you gain the emotional strength to continue healing and continue growing together. Infidelity is like a heart attack for the relationship. It's a critical wake-up call. It's not an experience that happens for you to get a divorce, to separate, to end the marriage. It's that critical wake-up call that allows you to take inventory of yourself and develop yourself so you can be a better partner. Whether you were the one that strayed or whether you were the one that was hurt. But the thing is, both partners end up hurt. And this is a critical wake-up call so that you can just develop your emotional capacity at a higher level. If both partners are committed to healing the relationship, in spite of all the suffering, in spite of all the pain, what you want to be able to recognize is that you will gain so many rewards. You can create a new type of marriage that will continue to grow and very likely exceed any of your previous expectations. So how can you avoid infidelity? Your marriage has a contract. And included in that contract, whether it's verbal or written, should be the stipulations of the emotional and sexual needs that you have. Each of you, as you go into a marriage contract, you should be able to also verbally express what is it that you expect emotionally? What is it that you want emotionally? What are your sexual needs? These expectations have to be discussed. And only by discussing them early in your relationship, when you're courting or you're engaged, will you fully be able to step into taking that responsibility of honoring each other and seeing what the needs are, being able to identify the triggers as they show up so that you can prevent. And when you can take your commitment to your marriage to that level where you can really understand your own needs and share them, when you can understand the needs of your partner and accept them, then the partnership becomes stronger. This adds to the depth and the meaning of the connection that you're wanting to establish with your lifelong partner. Cultivating exclusivity with your spouse. You know, these questions that were asked about, you know, a wife flirting in the way she communicates, or maybe a wife thinking that her husband is cheating on her. What you have to be willing to do to avoid infidelity in your marriage is have those conversations openly and honestly about the exclusivity that you want, about the exclusivity that you want in your marriage, the exclusivity that you want with your spouse, with respect, honoring each other, not with control, not with wanting to control each other. You want to have an intentional, deep connection with each other that will help the both of you maintain high values in the relationship. So infidelity then becomes this breach of contract when the exclusivity is broken. And the only way to maintain that exclusivity is through a commitment where you are open with each other and you're vulnerable and you don't allow those insecurities to break down your communication. You openly and honestly discuss things that are important to you in your connection before marriage. You openly and honestly discuss what your needs are, what your expectations are during your marriage. We have a question coming in on WhatsApp. And let's see, I am married, but my husband does not treat me lovingly. He regularly meets up with other girls, and is it okay for me to want to meet other men? Well, what's important is to understand what's at the root of the problem. What's at the root of the problem that is straying your husband away? What is at the root of the problem that's not allowing you to connect with each other in a loving way? There's always a trigger. There's always something that's deeper that you need to be willing to talk about and get help so that you can avoid the infidelity. Infidelity is an awful event, and it doesn't have to be devastating. There is actually a silver lining to infidelity, because when you've experienced something so awful and you've gone and done the work, you can actually experience so much good because of the healing, because of the changes, because of the development that you chose to take. This is a topic that we can continue discussing because it's so important. If you have any other ideas for topics, for any other shows, or if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to call in through WhatsApp. Thank you so much for watching this edition of Let's Talk About Sex, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. I'm your host, Estela Rodriguez-Jebril, and along with the team here at British Muslim TV, thank you for joining us. Assalamu alaikum.